Well, happy day, everybody. Thanks for stopping by and taking a visit. We're going to have a conversation number two. We've added to the fray with Michael and I. We have the illustrious little Miss Stone Hobbit here to talk about NPCs because we kind of feel like there was a lot of uncovered territory. So,
Well,
what
it
do you
is a
think?
topic that there's no way you could cover it in one show.
All right.
No. Yeah. So,
So,
okay. All right. Hi, guys. Let's get rocking. Okay, so I want to start off by asking you, Michael. I watched the recording last week. I wanted to ask you, please define for people out there your definition of an NPC to start with.
So my definition of an NPC is a person who's either born or goes into a trance state and is just going through life, going through motions, has no reaction to anything, is just literally like a walking shell, just goes, does what it's supposed to do, and that's it.
So, is there a particular way that they came about being in that state?
Well, some could be programmed to be in that state, or some I feel like may have had severe trauma or tragedy that just overwhelmed them, so the body just shut down. And so, to keep them from getting hurt or reliving this trauma, a lot of people will shut themselves down and literally just go through motions so they don't get hurt. They don't form attachments to people, they don't interact with people. They just wake up, do the same routine every day, go to sleep, and just repeat it day by day.
So, you don't think that they're on a schedule, they've got routines, that sort of thing. You just think that it's like it's come from trauma or programming.
Well, I think the programming or the trauma, their mind could set up maybe a routine of every day they wake up, brush their teeth, get showered, eat breakfast, go to work, come home, eat dinner, read a book maybe, or just go to sleep, and they wake up and do the same thing again. So you could say there's routine in that, but I just feel like routines sometimes are something that someone does because that's what they enjoy, where other times it's just something people don't even realize they're doing.
I think
Yeah.
too, though, one of the things that you mentioned was the trauma that when people do experience something that causes them to, like you said, shut down. It's not necessarily everything that shuts down. It could be a trigger that helps you shut down through a certain, event or a certain sight, smell, whatever. And it's like a disassociation where you become emotionally detached. That can be an all-encompassing thing, and detachment is very much different. So one of the things that even if you like Google what an NPC is, it does say it has that routine, that rote living. They don't learn anything other than what they've been told. They don't have any. The big thing for me was that internal dialogue. They get up, they do their routine, and they go to bed. They don't have any of that internal dialogue. They don't have the critical thinking skills. And again, Stone, I think that was a really good question about how did they get that way? Because it feels like that if you experience a trauma, you're not an NPC per se, but you're someone who is, from a psychological standpoint, disassociating or detaching yourself from your environment. You still have that internal dialogue. You're still having conversations within yourself to keep yourself safe. That's why you don't go outside of that routine. And they can get very upset. I don't know if an NPC can get upset over something like that. I know that people that have gone through traumatic experiences, and even working around people who have some of the intellectual disabilities or are developmentally delayed individuals, they will experience that where anything outside of their ability to sensory manage, that will cause them to have a behavior and create a problem. They have internal dialogue, they have all those things, but anything outside of that causes that maladaptive behavior. So I guess there's like a lot of overlap in maybe some terminology.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'll tell you where I stand right from the start. I disagree with this whole NPC, because we go through a lot of different stages and levels of abuse and programming and manipulation, and our environment is has gone through stuff, so we feel it in different ways, and sometimes people do just switch off. Now, I'm not sure, Michael, if you know what any of my background. I come from a very dark background, very abusive. I'm not going to get into how dark it is. You can find out on some of the other videos I've done. Now, I've gone through the trauma point where I have, while trauma is going on to the physical body, I've stepped out of my physical body. I've left the body because I know what's going on. And the only way for that body to get through the physical trauma of it is to leave it. Because while I'm in it, I'm going to be fighting and attacking. So would you be calling my physical body that's being abused at that point, because I've stepped out, an NPC? Because this is where I'm coming from. A lot of the stuff that I listened to in the recording, all I kept getting back over and over again was this is being labeling people. I mean, enough of us already have gone through the stages of some government agency giving us a label, putting us in some kind of MK Ultra, undergoing Stockholm syndrome. There are so many different programs out there that they're playing on us. And it's, when a receptor is hit, you're going to feel a bit of pain, and then you're going to go numb for a while. And that does not mean that you're an NPC or you've stepped out of your shell and this sort of thing. I mean, I totally understand, walk in perception or possession. For me, it comes down to the perspective of the encounters that both the human and soul together go through. If somebody is having a moment where they've totally left the stage, they're not there. You can see it in their eyes. They're switched off, but the body is under automatic pilot. Because there's so much intricate details within the body system to keep on functioning, and the body can function without the capacity of the brain telling it what to do, because it's a living organism. That to me still doesn't mean that it's an empty shell. They're gone. To me, an empty shell is something that is being created like a robot or a synthetic or a clone. These are being created, so forms of intelligence from AI, which I look at, that's the NPC. Okay, the AI is the NPC. That is the machine. That is the mechanical version of it. I have been, through stages where I've been totally drugged as a child, and I've woken up from, going into one location and coming out. I don't know what took place inside that location. That doesn't make me an NPC. I didn't leave. I'm
Mm.
still there. I'm still functioning. So it's like, you've got to balance the trauma. Now, trauma can come from just sitting there watching a TV show, seeing a fly past and spark something from an ancestral trait or something that you've picked up through programming somebody else has a fear of. You've got to take into consideration all of the, this is just another level of psychological warfare. And when somebody comes along and starts labeling somebody who they haven't taken 5 minutes to get to know why that person's in that situation that they're in, that to me is that person is the NPC. That is, you're creating a form of division. I'm not saying you personally, but I'm just saying that you've got to look at what we're doing on the bigger scale, not the smaller scale. By going out there and putting labels into place when they're not needed, they're not needed. We have enough labels there. We have enough divisions going on, from religion to gender to all sorts. We need to be looking at what's going on right now. If somebody's a bit vacant, and like you were stating, walking along in a crowd and you bump into somebody and they don't react to it. I've done that. I've been completely here. But I also know that if my buttons are pushed the wrong way, I'm going to turn around and smack that person in the bloody head. Sometimes I'm in such a rush that there's no point in waiting for somebody to turn around and give an apology or something like that. I've seen people in some really bad states because of the different jobs that I've worked in. And out of respect for each and every person out there, I cannot find it within myself to call anybody an NPC, for what they've gone through. Yes, there's some very vacant shells out there, but they don't stay shells for very long. You can't turn around and call somebody an NPC that then suddenly they wake up and they have a physicality going on. That shell, that vessel, that's creation. That was there and it was created for a soul to come in. Now, some traumatic event might have taken place where that soul decided, nah, fuck this, I'm out of here. And so it's available in that split time, might even be, a couple of years. They might be in a coma or something. They're not blooming NPCs. They're just laying there. Everybody's doing everything for them. I don't believe children or babies are NPCs either, because they're constantly learning. There's so many avenues to this. I want to break it down with, so I can understand for myself how somebody could come about calling another person or being an NPC. How have people gotten to the state that they're allowing themselves to create more division out there? Isn't there enough already?
That there is, and I'm and when I talk about NPCs, I don't ever view it as you're born that way, you're always that way, you'll die that way. It's a temporary thing. I even said that on the last one is, it can be temporary. We assume it's all the time, but it could be. In when what you were describing, I would say is not an NPC. That's a survival tactic that's taught. And so that doesn't make you an NPC. What I mean from trauma, when I say trauma from my experience, when I come across people who I, met in passing and had conversations with, I'll hear, well, they had something happen to them as a kid, and now they don't do this, they don't interact with people. They don't, have any friends. They keep to themselves. They don't have pets. They isolate themselves. And as I'm talking with them, I'm reading energy. And when I can't feel any energy coming from this person, that's when I say I'm talking, and my mind goes, okay, this is the closest I think I'll ever get to talking to an NPC because there's
Okay.
no substance here. It's
Okay.
just like a machine almost.
I can't see how you can say that. I've worked with a lot of people in my time, and these are people from children from different handicaps, disabilities, whatever you want to label them. And it came down to, yes, I do energy reading on people too. I can gauge people within a couple of minutes, know what they need to hear, see, smell, taste, and change in their life, only because I've had to experience it myself. Now, when you get some of these people and you can't feel and see their energy, maybe you should change your dial. Instead of saying they don't have an energy band that you can't see or register with, maybe you're needing to change your level instead of them changing theirs. This is how I work with people with Asperger's and ADHD and other, OCD and other bipolars and this sort of thing. You have to take 5 minutes of your own to go, okay, well, there's something else going on here. I can't hear them. I can't feel them. I can't sense them. I know they're there, but where, and then, change your dial a little bit, find out where their sensories are, where their communication levels are, whether it's through colors, whether it's through movement, whether it's through music, or, there are all, you will find something. Nobody is a dead shell. You got to, it's the mistake of humanity is giving up on itself. And I always fought for survival and for truth and to regain our own sovereignty because we are so much more. Now, if somebody's going through something and you can't feel them, maybe it's not them. Maybe we just need to tune ourselves into that frequency. We can't always tune ourselves into their frequencies because some of the whatever they've gone through may not be something we've been through ourselves. Therefore, we can't pick up or align ourselves with that information that fast. But you've got to allow yourself to actually get there. You can't. I don't know how anybody can just say, "Look, they're a dead shell. I can't do anything. I can't feel anything. I'm going to walk away from this one." I've had clients that have come to me, and I just can't deal with them. But I'm not going to turn around and call them an NPC because I can't communicate with them. I'm just going to turn around and say, well, I can't communicate with you at this point in time. I can't pick up on your frequencies. It doesn't mean that they haven't got something going on. So, it's like the beings that come around us. Do you sense the energies of a ghost spirit or a looping spirit, residual energy, or, shadow people and this sort of, do you feel them before they get there? Do you know where they came from? There's all of these different areas. You've said something and it's just like, oh, wait on. This person is a living entity, and maybe you just have to tune yourself into their alignment. They may be a bloody alien that we haven't encountered yet, but we still got to find that means of communication with them. This is what we do as a medium, especially a quantum medium.
So one thing that just occurred to me, and it just keeps getting pushed back and back and back into my head, repeating over and over, is something that my mother told me when I was a kid, making some reference to someone that she saw that, oh, well, that person, they don't have a soul. And I'm
Yeah,
thinking, okay, well, that's kind of a weird thing to say. I didn't understand that as a kid. It's like, how does how does that happen? How can you have something that appears to be living and breathing and moving, albeit I didn't see that individual. My mother had just told me. Actually, I take that back. I was describing somebody to her that I had encountered. Oh, that sounds like a soulless person to me. That that they were not somebody you'd want to be around, because there were no boundaries with that individual. But she had said that on a couple of people too. So I'm wondering too about the whole frequency aspect. Is it
yeah,
possible to have that? I don't want to call it a shell because, especially even if you say, I don't even like the phrase meat suit. I think that's
yeah,
disrespectful to the magnificent biome that we are privileged to inhabit. and take care of and nurture. So I guess, is it possible to have this biome without that spirit soul essence that inhabits it? Is there something more to this physical biome that we just don't understand? Because every cell that we are containing has a frequency.
Yeah.
Everything. I mean, all of our organs have their own frequency. I've heard that your gut biome actually has like little cliques. They have like little gossip groups. I mean, it's just all this whole social environment is in your gut.
Yeah.
So I guess there's more going on that what we can outwardly observe that we might think is going on. And again, it goes beyond the human understanding at this point, whether you want to call it understanding or understanding. And I still, just seriously, I think there is a difference. And I think for you to grasp that aspect
Yeah.
is that you do have to get underneath something. You do have to stand under something. You have to be able to examine that. You
Yeah.
still have the freedom of deciding whether you make that an inner standing to
Yeah.
accept it as part of who you are. But again, this is a biological manifestation, even might be a belief system that we have, this collection, and that we're animated by this essence.
Yeah.
We are inhabiting this. And the only thing that comes to me is that if we do have this biome and they say, I ain't going to stick around for this BS, I'm out of here. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be possible, because even if it's temporary, you still have that silver cord
Yeah.
that you can look through all those religions, and you can look through all of the different esoteric learnings. It'll talk about that silver cord. My mother, who
Yeah.
was a devout Christian, talked about the silver cord. So I kind of hang on to that a little bit. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it possible that, and I think when I made that comment the other day too, Michael, when I don't remember what day of the week it was, when you were on the live, and I put a comment in the chat about why does it have to be this or that?
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
isn't it all of these options? Because we're basing our opinions on our personal experience. And the
Mm.
idea of having the open dialogue is to see what someone else is saying.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to agree with them, but I think it enriches our own knowledge and the foundation of what we believe or choose to believe, and make it part of us. We don't have to integrate it, but we can keep it there, and it's a good reference point.
Oh,
Um,
we need all perspectives of it. We need everything that comes up. It doesn't, there's no, I don't see any wrong. I don't see any bad. I see room for growth. If somebody makes a mistake, that's if you can see that there's room for growth, so you're not going to do it again, then that's why it happened in the first place. But if you continue to do it knowingly, then I don't have any more
that's the
time.
NPC coming out in you.
Yeah.
Box of rocks, baby, box of rocks.
You described a whole lot of personality traits, and I'm sitting here going, yep, tick. Yep, this is like a survey, tick. Yep, I fit all of those categories that you mentioned.
All
Um,
do though. That's the cool part. And I think we just don't see it. We have so
yeah,
many facets. We don't see that. A lot of times I think on our own selves, we're walking around with freaking blinders and a stiff neck, and we don't want to see and open up. And it's like, holy crap.
yeah.
This is why my family has no idea what the heck Deb does on the weekends. You know, right? Right? I mean, right, Stone? Like that's right.
Yep. Okay, another question for you, Michael. Okay, now I
Well,
went first.
first, before you ask that, I just want to make something clear because
Yeah.
I'm thinking some of this may have gotten confused. I've never actually experienced an NPC. I'm
Okay.
only speaking from my understanding of what it is. So I just want to make that clear that I am not speaking of actually meeting someone and calling them an NPC. I've never met one.
Didn't you say that you couldn't read somebody? Didn't you call them an NPC?
I said I felt like they were an NPC, but I never called them one. I said
Okay,
that's probably the closest I'd ever get
gotten
to experiencing one, but I've never called anyone one or met a physical NPC. I've done a lot of reading about it, and what I share is my understanding, but
Yeah.
I would never like, even when I can't find someone on the astral plane and find their energy there, I would never say, oh, this is an NPC 100%. I
Okay.
don't know. I've never been with one to be able to say, oh, so this is definitely how they are, the signs, everything. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to make that clear so there was no misunderstanding and everyone just wanted to clear the air a little bit there.
Oh, thank
And
you.
yeah,
Appreciate it.
yeah, and the thing is too, I think a lot of times we come up with the terminology as part of a discussion.
Yep.
And I'm not going to put a moral judgment on by saying that it's either good or bad. It's just a discussion for expanding your awareness. But it's almost like the cart is before the horse, maybe in a lot of things that are going on, because how many years video games have been out? If
Yep.
you're a gamer, you know what an RPG is. If you're a gamer, you know what an FPS is, and you know what an NPC is. Now, more people probably know what an NPC is now because of what is being talked about. What
Yep.
preceded that was the whole idea of being in a simulation theory. That
Yep.
simulation theory, relating it to a video game. These are video game terminologies. And so and now they're talking about people with no dialogue. What is this? Who are they? We're trying to understand this before we understand it because we're not going to accept it. Seriously, I know I'm not making fun of you.
I know.
Right?
I was hearing that. I was waiting for it. It's coming. It's coming. And it's standing. Got it. Move
Right.
on.
You get that point though because it's like again, it's that cart before the horse. It's almost like we are being set up
Yes.
for opening up to these different concepts. Please keep in mind that doesn't mean they're accurate. That doesn't mean they're true. It's just a theory. Everything you read about is a theory. Nobody actually has the answer to this. You're basing your foundation of knowledge on your personal experience, and clearly not everybody is going to have the same experience, which is why it's a good idea to have open dialogue and not place any kind of moral judgment, good, bad, right, wrong.